YouTube scrolling and marijuana. Often enough, when we smoke marijuana, one of the things that can happen is we disassociate. We actually start to become less aware of the things that are going on in our life, whether that's the uncomfortable feelings of certain things that are going on in our personal life, whether that is physical pains, or whether that is some kind of life aspect where we are trying to progress towards our goals, dreams, and values. Now, when you escape reality, when you dissociate through a drug that alters your own perception, you do that for long enough, chances are that you might start to realize that the goals and the dreams and the things that you wanted to achieve have not really made much progress. You haven't gotten very close to those things that you want to achieve. And why is that? Well, when we smoke, most of us end up finding that we don't feel like getting up off of the couch. If anything, we might want to just sit there and play video games or watch pornography or just doom scroll on YouTube to pass the time because we're not really mindful. If anything, we're a lot more mindless. We're just kind of existing in this pocket of a altered state of consciousness. Now, for a time, I think it can be beneficial, sure. It's good to kind of decompress, to get out of these stressors of life and find that time to, in a sense, self-care, to get away from your problems long enough that you might be able to deal with your problems. But let's face it, when you smoke marijuana long enough, day in and day out, it actually doesn't have that effect in the long term. If anything, we might be going through our workday and realize, okay, I'm just going to go home and smoke a joint. I had a shit day. I don't want to deal with this, but if I just can get through my day and go home, everything will be better. Or your relationship might be having some issues that you need to face and have some real honest conversations in. But it's a lot easier to just reach over and grab a joint and just not have those uncomfortable moments. So relationships can also fall to the side and you can lose relationships, whether that's in work or that's in your intimate life. So really what goes on over the course of time is you go into this altered state and you lose track of time. You lose track of the things that you really want to do when you're sober. The things that you want to do when you were a kid, when you didn't need to be high all the time to have a good time. You might have gone outside, played, just stared at some birds or chased a squirrel. Something very simple used to bring us a lot of joy. And as we get older, we have bills and all these other things and responsibilities that we have to deal with. Some of us choose not to deal with it at all. And it's a lot easier to pick up a joint and smoke it. But what's more difficult is to understand what's going on beneath all this. Why do we feel the need to consistently escape our lives? Obviously you're not doing this because you don't have good reason. A lot of people that are depressed or have anxiety or stress or anger have very good legitimate reasons to why they feel that way in their own reality. Sure, I may not necessarily understand your reality as potently as you might, but that doesn't mean that your reality, your feelings aren't necessarily real, or at least real to you. And at the end of the day, our own version of reality is really all we have. So whatever reasons you have picked up marijuana, it can be very different and vast from person to person. Some people pick it up because they're angry and they don't want to be angry. So they smoke, and over the course of time, they start to feel better because they're escaping that anger. But usually what ends up happening is one of the common withdrawal symptoms is irritability, anger, and aggression. And so that solution that you may have found over the course of time, you might start feeling that you're now struggling or battling with yourself to even just get off of it. And so what once was viewed as a good solution to your problems is now becoming something that you don't necessarily resonate with anymore. And you want to drop, but you're struggling with it. So let's face it, if you could turn off any uncomfortable feeling within yourself, just like a light switch, boom, It's over. You don't have to deal with it. Wouldn't you choose to do that? So why haven't you gotten over this anger? Why haven't you gotten over this depression? Why haven't you gotten over this anxiety? You won't be able to do that until you get to the root cause. And the root cause is just another way of saying the subconscious mind. Now, your subconscious mind has one job, one singular job, and that is to keep you safe. And it is to hide things from you that will harm you or could harm you. So whatever issue that you have going on in your life, let's say you have fear of speaking up for yourself, and that makes you angry at the end of the day because you feel like you take a lot of abuse that you don't necessarily feel you deserve, but you're not speaking up for yourself. Now, I could just be like any other person in this world and say, well, you just need to do that. You need to get better at that. You just need to practice. You're out of practice. I'm sure you've heard enough of it. You know as well as I do that that's not necessarily how it works for you. That, yeah, sure, you understand that you should speak up, you should self-advocate, you should do the things that you need to do at the end of the day to become a better version of yourself. But if you lack that internal connection, you're never going to do it. So that's where I can come in as a hypnotist and get to the root cause of why you may not be self-advocating. You know, some people, it's actually that in their childhood, one of their parents or both of their parents did a really effective job at telling their kid to keep their mouth shut. Don't speak out of turn. Or if they did speak up, there was a lot of negative consequences and they learned to just be quiet. Or they learned to hide or lie and withhold how they were truly feeling on the inside. And until you've dealt with that actual issue, you're not going to have any of a difference in your adult life either, because as we're developing as individuals, every experience we have has some effect on our psyche. And if we don't start dealing with issues in our life over the course of time, you kind of lose sight of actually what the problem is. And you will have a best guess, but that best guess is usually wrong. Probably 90% of the time it's going to be wrong, because let's face it, if you knew what was wrong with you, you could just fix it. You wouldn't need the joint. You wouldn't need to smoke every day. You would actually speak up for yourself or whatever issue that is for you. So at the end of the day, if you're tired of escaping your reality, doom scrolling on YouTube, and just escaping whatever is going on in your personal life that you do in fact need to face, hit me up. But, at the same time, if you're not at that position yet, if anybody else in this world can actually empathize with where you're at, sometimes people need to go on for years and years with smoking. They may need to be 40, 50, 60 years old. I've had clients that are 66 years old, and now they're finally ready to quit after 35 plus years of smoking chronically, daily, every single day. And they weren't ready to deal with it 20 years ago, 10 years ago. If anything, they weren't even aware that it was a problem for them. They had more reasons for why it was a pro to their life than a con. So when you're ready to actually face this issue and you view it as such, reach out and I can help. Take care.